Have you ever wondered what the actual legal difference is between just having a bad thought and committing a crime? Well, it turns out the law has a very specific blueprint for this. Today, we're going to build a crime from the ground up, piece by piece, using the two core elements that prosecutors absolutely have to prove. I mean, this question really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? We all have weird, fleeting thoughts that we would never, ever act on. So where exactly does the law draw that line? At what point does something in your head become a real, punishable offense? That's the boundary we are going to explore. Okay, so think of it like this. To construct a solid case for pretty much any crime, prosecutors need two fundamental building blocks. You need the physical part, the action itself, and you need the mental part, what was going on in your head. If you don't have both, the whole structure of the crime just falls apart. So let's start with that first block, the one you can actually see, the guilty act. This is the physical foundation of the entire thing. And honestly, without it, a case can't even get off the ground. The fancy legal term for this is Actus Reus, which is just Latin for guilty act. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the physical action, the conduct, that the law says is a crime. We're not getting into intentions or thoughts just yet. This is purely the what you did part of the equation. But here's a really critical detail. The act has to be voluntary. The law only cares about movements you chose to make, something willed and conscious. So as you can see here, someone deciding to swing a baseball bat is worlds away from someone whose arm flails out and hits a person during a seizure. One is a choice, the other is not, and the law treats them completely differently. And this brings us right back to our original question. The Actus Reus is the physical act of taking the wallet, not just fantasizing about it. No matter how detailed your secret plan might be, our legal system generally doesn't care until you take that first physical step. Okay, so an act is a physical, voluntary movement. Got it. But what about the complete opposite? What if you see something awful happening and you just stand there and do nothing? Can doing absolutely nothing be a criminal act? Well, the answer is a big yes, but only in very specific situations. A failure to act, what lawyers call an omission, can be the actus reus, but only if you had a legal duty to do something in the first place. This duty can come from a law, like having to pay your taxes, or a contract, like a lifeguard who's paid to watch swimmers. It can also come from a special relationship, like a parent's duty to a child, or even if you're the one who created the danger. In these rare cases, doing nothing is the guilty act. So we have the physical act locked down. But that's only half the story. Now we need to add our second building block, the mental component, the guilty mind. This is where we shift from what you did to what you were thinking when you did it. And let me tell you, this is where things get really interesting. This idea is called mens rea, which is, you guessed it, Latin for guilty mind. It's all about a person's mental state at the moment they committed the act. And this is absolutely crucial because it's what the law uses to tell the difference between a tragic accident and a malicious crime. It's how we measure blameworthiness. And to measure that blame, the law has this really useful concept called the ladder of blame. There are 4 main levels of mental states. And as you climb this ladder, the level of guilt, of culpability, gets higher and higher. We're going to start at the very bottom with negligence and work our way all the way to the top to intent, which is the most serious state of mind. So let's break these down. Right at the top, you've got intent. This is simple. Your goal was to make it happen. A step down from that is knowledge. It wasn't your primary goal, but you were practically certain it would happen. Think of someone detonating a bomb to destroy a building, knowing full well people are inside. Then there's recklessness. This is when you consciously ignore a huge risk, like deciding to drive 100 miles per hour through a school zone. And at the very bottom, we have negligence. This is when you weren't even aware of the risk, but any reasonable person should have been, like causing an accident because you were sending a text. Each step up that ladder means a more blameworthy mind, and usually a much bigger penalty. Okay, we've got our 2 building blocks. We have the physical act, and we have the mental state. So now, let's snap them together. And here it is. Actus reus plus mens rea equals a crime. This simple formula is the absolute bedrock of criminal law. You need the physical act, and you need it to happen at the same time as the guilty state of mind. When prosecutors can prove both of those elements exist together, they've built their case. But you know how it is. With any good rule, there's almost always a major exception. So what happens when the law decides that your state of mind is completely and totally irrelevant? This is where the idea of strict liability comes into play. For some offenses, usually things related to public safety like traffic laws or food safety regulations, the law just gets rid of the guilty mind requirement altogether. All the prosecution has to prove is that you did the act. Think about a speeding ticket. It doesn't matter if you meant to speed or just weren't paying attention. The act itself is enough. It's basically a shortcut to enforce rules that protect everybody. So let's do a quick recap of the blueprint. At its core, a crime needs a physical act, the Actus Reus, and a guilty mind, the Mens Rea. Remember, the act has to be voluntary, and in some special cases, not acting can be the crime. Then the law uses that ladder of blame, climbing from negligence all the way up to intent, to figure out just how responsible a person is. That formula, act plus mind, really is the foundation of our entire system. And that leaves us with a much bigger question, doesn't it? We've seen the neat, logical blueprint for how a crime is built. But when you take these clean, simple building blocks and apply them to the messy, complicated reality of human behavior, does the final structure always end up looking like justice? That's something to think about.